Now, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very big welcome to Information Technology Project Management. This is Lecture 2, where we are going to be talking about organization, specifically the structure and the culture that is available in organizations, as well as we are going to be talking about how do we define a project. And defining the project is going to be a very, very important topic, especially that it's actually related to what you need to go and be doing in your assignment. So I'm going to start talking about things that are relevant for your assignment. For example, we're going to talk today about creating a scope. What is the scope of the project? We're going to talk about developing that. We're going to talk about creating a work breakdown structure. You will be given a lot of activities to be able to go and create a work breakdown structure, which basically, something that is this is really the foundation of doing a good project management planning. And if you do the work breakdown structure correctly for your assignment, it's going to mean that you are going to be able to go and achieve very, very good outcomes when it comes to do the right budgeting, to do the right scheduling, because you will be able to go and have the right details. You will build your plan based on the right details. And if you do that correctly, you'll be able to get very, very good outcomes. So this is something that is important for us to make sure that we teach you so that you'll be able to go and get the right outcomes. It's obviously building on what we've covered last week. We started talking in general about the projects, defining the projects. We started talking about selecting the projects, how there are various approaches to project selection. We started talking about the structure and strategy and so on. So it's really building on what we've started covering last week to continue today. And as time progresses, my friends, you're going to see that we're going to go and start building further and further on all of these topics. And what I'm covering will be available and will be testable in your midterm exam and in your final exam. So all of these activities I'm giving you are relevant. And when we're going to go and do the midterm exam and the final exam, you'll see they're going to be very, very relevant. So every week, I encourage you to make sure you are coming, because if you don't come, it's going to make it hard for you to understand all of these technical items that are related. So Lord, no problem. Thank you very much for the message. So guys, please keep on coming with me. Please keep on working hard. I really care about your success, and I want to make sure you achieve the best possible outcomes. I want to build on what I've had last semester, not even a single failure, but obviously this required a lot of hard work from the people enrolled in the subject. So what am I going to teach you today? Well, I'm going to talk about identifying the different project management structures and understanding what is the strength and what are the weaknesses of each. We spoke about distinguishing the three different types of metric structures and understand their strengths and weaknesses. We're going to understand the organizational and project considerations that should be considered in choosing an appropriate project management structure. We're going to talk about really appreciating a significant role of the organizational culture and how it plays into really driving the delivery of projects in organizations. We're going to identify key elements of a project scope statement and understand why a complete scope statement is critical to project success. And we're going to try to understand the importance of a work breakdown structure. It's really, really crucial that you have the work breakdown structure. This is really 6 is very, very important. You don't do that task correctly in your assignment, that means most likely you will, best case scenario, get a pass in your assignment. So it's very, very important you learn to create a work breakdown structure. So engage today in the activities I am going to give you today in the tutorial to learn how to create a work breakdown structure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a very small sketch. I need you to help Ted on this project. Well, if Ted's project succeeds, who will get the credit? Well, he will get the credit. Well, what about if it fails? Well, it is your fault it fails. And that's really the wrong attitude to actually go and manage a project. If the project does well, it is because of the whole work of everybody in that team. If the project does not do well, it is again the same thing. It is because of the work of the team that is basically going to decide whether something is successful or is unsuccessful. If I spend my time helping Ted, my own project will suffer. The only way this makes sense if my projects aren't important and so am I. Well, if it makes you feel better, Ted and his projects are also unimportant. Then here we come the question again. If we are working on something that is not important, that means we're not working on something that meets the strategic business needs and requirements, which I talked about last week. So if we are not focusing our limited resources on the projects that are going to make a big difference for our organization, the question in very simple terms is, why are we actually doing that? We are wasting much of our resources. So when I talk about organization of the project structures, I organize the project in various structures. I organize them in a functional organization or in a dedicated team or in a matrix arrangements. What is the difference? If I talk about functional organization, it's like we have people who already work in a department. It could be marketing, it could be HR, it could be sales. And these people have the functional manager, the person in charge of, let's say, the marketing department. And these people are doing their job, and at the same time, they are doing the jobs that are being assigned to them in terms of any specific project. So this is really how what we talk about a functional organization. You're still working in your department, and maybe they give you some tasks that are related to a project and say, go and do that. And your main focus here remains on what? Remains on being a member of that functional department. The opposite to that is the project teams, dedicated project teams. So what happened is that the project team operate as their own department. So you'll have all of those people, you go and recruit them, you go and employ them, and they work 100% as part of that team. And that's the whole job they do. They're not going to be spending time working on anything other than delivering all of these projects. And the third point is organizing projects within a matrix arrangement. So when I talk about a matrix arrangement, it is really a mix between a functional organization and a project organization. So the way that it works, people still work in various departments. So that's what we call the functional organization. But at the same time, these people who are in various functions are now being placed in a team. So they're not simply doing project-related work without being part of the team like the functional organization. They're actually more now being part of the team. They have joined the team. So at the same time, they are members of their functional department. So they do the work of their functional department. But at the same time, they are also part of a project team. So they do the work of the project team. And depending on the type of matrix arrangement, it could be what we call a weak matrix, which means, yes, they do work on a project, but the majority of their focus is on the actual functional work. Or it could be a strong matrix, mean, well, because it's strong matrix, the majority of their work is on a project and less work they go and work on the functional department. So the person in charge in a strong matrix is actually the project manager. So there is a project manager for that matrix team. But if it's a weak matrix, and the functional manager is the one who's really in charge and call the shots when it comes to when their team member is going to be able to do project work for that specific people who are part of the matrix arrangement. My friends, just a quick question. Are you okay? Just give me the thumbs up if everything is clear so far. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. I can see so many beautiful thumbs up. Thank you very much. And I can see I have now 18 people attending. And that's up from last week. Thank you very much, guys. It's really, really important you attend your lectures. And for those who didn't give me the thumbs up, just learn how to give a thumbs up in that system so that I can make sure you know it when I ask you a question. But thank you very much, guys, for coming today. I really, really appreciate your hard work. So we're going to start talking about the functional organization. So I'm going to talk again in more details about each of them now. Simply manage the team within their existing functional hierarchy. So if it's marketing, and the marketing, there's a manager, there's, let's say, supervisor, there's team members. It's the same standard functional organization, and that's how everybody goes and actually work. Different segments of the project are delegated to respective functional units. If you want, let's say we have a marketing department, we have a sales department, we have a IT department. If for example, the work needs to go through more than one functional department, the functional department of marketing does a job, moves it to sales, sales does a job, moves it to IT, IT does a job, moves it to HR, and basically things starts falling for one department to another department. So different segments of the work are delegated to respective functional units. Coordination is maintained through normal management channels. So if you have a marketing manager, it's through the marketing manager. If it's sales manager, HR manager, IT manager, the work gets coordinated through those managers. Use when one functional area plays a dominant role in completing the project or has a dominant interest in the actual success of that project. For example, if let's say IT has a dominant role in completing the project and they have a dominant interest into getting that project done, then you would basically organize that to give them probably be the first team who initiated and follow up on ensuring the work progresses from one department to another department. Now it looks like that. You have your organization, you have HR, you have finance, you have marketing, let's say engineering, manufacturing, and procurement. In this example, the project has to go through all of these departments. Now, marketing have different people, engineering have different people, manufacturing have different people, and so on. But the work gets coordinated through the managers, and the managers tell these guys here in marketing what to do. Once it's done, they coordinate with engineering. Engineering manager coordinate with the team members to tell them what to do. Then it's done. Then the list goes on and goes on and goes on. Now, the advantages of this is people are still working as part of the normal structure that they are already used to working. It is flexible. You need another department to get involved. You can get them involved. It provides expertise because people in each department who need to go and deliver that work already have that expertise. And it has an easy post-project transition. When the project finishes, nobody needs to move. These people were working in that team, and they're still working in that team. However, there's a disadvantage. There is a lack of focus. Because you are working in your functional department and you're doing both a project work and a functional work, there's no focus. The functional work will always take the priority over your project work. There's a poor integration. Why? Because department 1, 2, 3, 4, HR, marketing, IT, sales, they're not really coordinating together to get the job done. No, I finished, take it to them. They finish, take it to them. They finish, take it to them. And because there's no priority of getting that job done, the work tends to be done slowly. So it is slow. You're not actually getting things done the quickest possible approach that is available. And there's a lack of ownership. Why? Well, we said there might be a department that is more interested and have more focus on a specific project, but usually there's a lack of ownership. So you know, I don't own it. I finish my job. It is now your job. And they finish a job, they move it. It's not my job. It's now your job. So nobody really tends to be too much owning on that work and saying it's my responsibility. If something goes wrong, well, it's not my fault. No, it's their fault. No, it's their fault. Everybody goes into that disagreement and arguments. Dedicated team. We have a team. It's a project team. We have a full-time project manager working with us. The full-time project manager brings people from various places, could be from departments, could be from outside the business, put them together, and these people becomes part of the project. It becomes like its own department. Like a marketing department, you have this project department. The team is physically separated from the parent organization. Okay? They given marching orders to complete the project. So the team who is working on that project, they are given the orders to be able to go and ensure they work on delivering that project. Now, when we talk about dedicated project teams, in a projectized organization where projects are the dominant business, which is, you know, for example, if you talk about Google projects are the main business. Apple projects are the main business. You know, where we get the majority, you know, construction projects are the main business. So in these sort of environments, functional departments are responsible for providing support for its teams. For example, if you talk about the IT department, usually you have a you know, HR department, but HR department is usually only there to be able to provide the support that the project team needs. For example, do they need more employees? Let's go and actually go and source those employees. Do they need a contract signed? Let's go and organize this contract to ensure it's been done correctly. So they basically try to go and support people while working as part of that project environment. So you see, you still have marketing, finance, HR, and legal, and these group are no longer really the team that are doing the project. So it's not really coordinated through marketing or finance or HR or legal. You have a dedicated project team, project manager alpha A, beta project manager. You have specific people working there, and basically it is very, very specific how you want to go and get the job done. So engineering, manufacturing, procurement, okay, it doesn't matter. There could be engineers or manufacturers or procurement, but they are now 100%, not even a minute of their time goes where they're not dedicated simply to work on that specific project. And obviously there's an advantage because these guys will be very focused. Okay, it's very simple. We're not separated. We are the project team, they are the department. It's fast. Why? Well, if all what I'm doing is working on that project, then I'll be able to go and ensure I get things delivered fast. That's what it is. It is cohesive because people are talking together, are meeting together, are working together every single day, and there's a cross-functional integration. So if I'm talking about software engineering, when a BA go and give me the requirement, he tells all of these developers, when developers finish all of their development, they give it directly to testing, who works closely together. They are integrated. So they basically communicate very, very well together to be able to go and get the job done. But there is obviously a disadvantage. And that disadvantage is it is actually expensive. You're going to go and employ a project manager. The project manager usually gets paid $1,000 a day. You're going to go and employ a developer, $700, $800 a day, a tester, and so on. There's usually a lot of time internal strife, especially when there are more than one project teams, and these project teams are actually fighting for resources. There's what we call all of this internal strife. There is a limited technological expertise. So when you go and employ people to work on a specific project, these people are usually very much focused on that knowledge of that development language that they know about. So that's usually limited expertise. And they also, because they are working on that limited project with limited requirements for a limited period of time, when that project finishes, it is difficult post-project transition. So a lot of time what happens is these people, what's going to happen to them? A lot of time they're actually employed as contractors. So what happened as soon as they finish working on that specific project? Well, what happened is they usually go and they finish working for that company, and then they will go and start finding another employer. So this is something that actually happens a lot of time. Now, my friend, as usual, I just want to ask you a quick question. Is everybody clear on what I've covered so far? Just give me the thumbs up if all clear. And if you have any question, please ask me. All right, so I can see so many people. Asha, Shinaine, Sumail. Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. A thumbs up. I'll give you all a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Now, the matrix structure is what I told you. This is the third structure where people are really working in the actual functional department. At the same time, they are actually working on the actual project. So it's really a mix of the dedicated project structure and the functional structure. It's mixing them together. So hybrid organization is overlaid on a normal functional structure. So there's usually two chain of commands. You report to your functional manager, and you report to your project manager. The project manager works in that hybrid structure. The functional manager works in your department. So you have two chain of commands. Project participants report simultaneously to both the functional and the project managers. Now, it is a good option because it allows for participation on multiple projects while performing functional duties. For example, if I work in the actual functional department, if I work in marketing, and if I'm only working 30% of my time because we don't have a lot of work, then what I can be doing, I could be allocated to go and work on another project. One of the projects I'll be allocated to work on 35% of my time. Another project I'll be allocated to work on another 35% of the time. So that's 70%. And I'm already only working on 30% capacity in my marketing department. So that is exactly 100% work option that I'm already doing in that specific environment. So basically it allows for participation on multiple projects while performing normal functional duties. It achieves a greater integration of expertise and project requirements because people not simply are working in that functional area, but they are also really considered to be part of that team in that functional area. So you look here, you have all of these HR, finance, manufacturing, marketing, and so on. You have, for example, engineering. People are working. They are actually doing their engineering work. They're doing that. They're working in their manufacturing work. They're working on their marketing work. But at the same time, we are having people working in other places. For example, you see here, in marketing, I'm having a person working half of their time on project C, and I'm having half a project manager, okay, or project team working for that team, like in terms of project administration. There's someone working half of their time here, someone in terms of marketing working half of their time here, which means the other half, they're working what? On their marketing department. The other half, they're working what? On the project administration. So you have this project manager, he's in charge. You have one person from the admin, two people from the engineering, two people from the design, one person from electronic engineering, two people from mechanical engineering, one from documentation, two from assembly and manufacturing, half a person from testing. So you see how you have people who are working in their department. So if I'm working half of my time in manufacturing or in my testing, then I need to work the other half on the project. So you are really having to report to your manager here, whoever your manager is, and you have to report to the people here, whoever are your managers. Now, there are three forms of metrics: one weak, one balanced, one strong. Weak means a functional manager have the final say. He decides really how things gets done. He has the authority, and the project manager only have an indirect authority. So he basically goes and supports a functional manager. The balanced matrix, the project manager is responsible and sets the overall plan. The functional manager determines how work is to be done. And that's really the balance matrix approach. So it's really, you're having a balance of power between both the project manager and the functional manager. But the strong matrix is where the project manager has the broader control and the functional departments are only acting as a subcontractor to the project. So they're basically acting really to be providing the support that the project is actually needing to go and get the job done. Now, again, we come to the advantages and disadvantages. Well, the advantage is it is efficient. You're going to be able to go and get those people who are not working full-time on the functional area to be able to go and do more work and add more value to the business. And that's definitely something that is very good on the business. Why? Because it is about ensuring you are maximizing the use of your resources in a way that is going to be sustainable. There is a strong project focus, especially if we're talking about potentially a strong matrix. You know, I wouldn't say as much in the other form of matrices, but if the actual strong matrix, it means the project manager is in charge and there will be much more focus on the project than when the actual functional manager is the one in charge. There's an easy post-project transition. We finish the project. What's going to happen? Well, nothing. We're going to just go back to work in our departments. That's really what will happen. Nothing will really change. And it is flexible. And the meaning of that is if we find ourselves in need to go and have more people working for us, then what's going to happen is we're going to go and have the option to be able to go and add more people and work flexibly and add more people to go and actually provide us with the assistance. The disadvantage of working in a project organizational matrix is dysfunctional conflict. Now, as you can see in this example, people need to share resources. When some person working half of their time here and half of their time on another project, There's going to be conflict. The people, I want him more. No, I want him more. No, I want him more. You're going to see people fighting together to be able to really go and get access to the person to basically work more the priority on their specific project. So there is actually conflict that is available. There are fighting in the teams, especially if the people are not very friendly together. They don't work with each other very regularly. They really more fighting available. It is stressful, especially like, imagine me telling you, like, guys, any of you, who has a hard manager? Anyone here have a hard manager? Kevin. Okay, Kevin, what can you tell me about your manager? What's hard about him?
Oh, well, basically, I sort of follow the matrix structure of matrix team structure, basically, because I'm in a part-time schedule now.
Yeah.
And basically, my time is split between like different projects in my organization.
Okay, so what organization do you work for? What do they do?
It's sort of like a finance, but there's different entities within the organization, and require different sort of systems.
So do you have two managers?
So I basically have one manager overseeing me, but across different projects.
Okay, so that one manager, is he difficult to deal with?
Yes.
Okay, what's difficult about him?
Well, there's no sense of priority on like which project I should be focusing on. So I basically have to switch between doing one thing for this one system, or so I can't really focus my energy and time into one thing because it keeps switching.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? You're gonna answer me very honestly?
Yes.
In one word or more, could you please summarize to me how you feel when you're doing that job?
Confused.
Confused. Okay. Now imagine that confusion, and that's for everybody. Imagine you're doubling that confusion, and you now have two different people who wants totally different things from you. The functional manager wants you to do the job. The project manager wants you to do the actual job of that project. And you are in between, and you don't know what to actually go and do. That's more confusing, yeah? That's probably going to drive you crazy. Guys, if you ever think about doing a PhD, that's exactly what you go through. You go and you have one project, one PhD supervisor asks you to do one thing, the other supervisor asks you to do the other thing, and then you have all of this fighting in between. So it is very, very stressful to be working when there's two managers going to actually go and have to go and tell you what to do. And there's actually slow because you're not really totally dedicated to the team when you are working on more than one project. When I have an employee like you, in terms of you, my friend, you work on more than one project, yes? You mentioned you work on more than one project, Kevin.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you work on more than one project, do you deliver those projects quickly or do they take time?
Well, the modules sort of come slowly.
Slowly. Why do they come slowly? Because you're not 100% focused on only one specific task.
That's right. Yeah.
Focus on more than one thing. And what's going to happen when you're splitting your time? That's exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, we spoke about all of these structures. You spoke about the functional structure, the metric structure, the project structure. And people would be asking themselves now this question saying, well, what structure should I use? Well, really, this is not a very simple question. And there's actually a question about this specific title, it's choosing the most appropriate structure. There's a question in our tutorial today where you'll have to go and apply what I'm teaching you now here, these couple of coming slides. Now, how do you know what to actually go and use? Which structure? Well, you need to ask yourself is how important is the project to the firm's success? A project might be very, very important. And as a result, you might say, well, because the projects are very important, we are very much interested into going and creating a metric structure because that structure is going to get us the best possible outcomes. But on the other hand, you might go and ask, well, say the following, say, well, maybe it's not that important for us. And because it's not, we're going to have to go and make an adjustments in terms of that. Second question is, what percentage of our core work involves projects. Sometimes there's a lot of our work involved projects, sometimes it's not. And based on that, that's one of the consideration you do to decide whether you're going to go for a totally functional structure or matrix structure or projectized structure. What level of resources, human resources, physical resources are available? You might have so many resources available and you can go and really form a dedicated project team. But a lot of times organizations do not actually have all of those resources. And if they don't, that actually becomes a problem. And that's something you need to go and bear in mind. Other things you need to go and consider when you're deciding whether you are going to be having a matrix or any other structure. How big is the project? How strategically important is this project to our long-term sustainability? How much innovation and new things are required in that project? How much do we need to go and have integration? When I say by integration, in terms about all of these departments working together, how much integration do we really need? Creating that strong integration to get the job done. Number of departments really involved. Another thing to consider is the environmental complexity. How many external parties who are actually outside my business am I actually required to go and work with? The more people outside the business I am needing to go and really engage with, the more I need to go and think about dealing with all of those people in a certain manner to get the right outcome. So the more really we think about creating a dedicated project team to go and get the job done. We talk about the budget. How much money do we have? What is the time constraint? If time is not a constraint, then you could just take as much time as you need and you don't really need a project team. If budget is really available, however, a lot of money is available, then what you do, you're actually able to go and potentially get a lot of money to get the job done. Like if I have a lot of money, I'll employ whoever I would like to go and employ. I'll get a lot of people to be used, and I have a dedicated project team. There's no problem. I have the resources. Why not? How stable are my resource requirements? If the resource requirements are stable, then you could potentially go for a dedicated project team and you know exactly what you need. If they're not stable, then maybe you're better off to stick to a functional organization or even a matrix organization, because then what will happen is, if you are going to be needing to go and have more people working for you in your project at any point of time, you are actually having the options to go and source all of those other people who are currently working in that specific functional area to be able to go and get that job done. My friend, my question again, is everybody clear? Give me the thumbs up if everything clear now. Perfect. Now, Pranathika, I just want to let you know that I am actually recording my lectures, so it'll be good. I think if you don't mind coming in the video, that's not a problem. You can keep your video on. Otherwise, I recommend you take the video off just so that you won't actually appear in the recording. In the actual tutorial, I'm not recording that, so you'll be able to go and come live with the camera, and I actually expect everybody to be live in the tutorial. But just want to let you know that this are being recorded and they'll be published just in case you don't want to appear in that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce a very, very quick video here, which really starts introducing the second part of our lecture today. So I want to start talking about the organizational culture. So just listen to that video very quickly. Let's go with that.
Culture. When you hear this word, what comes to mind? Is it the differences in people's beliefs? Is it what people value? Or maybe it's the shared expectations people have to act a certain way? Psst. Now think of your workplace. How is this different from other places where you've worked or studied? How were your expectations different? Did your employer value different things? The fact is, all workplaces are different. They all have their own organizational culture. This means they all have different norms, meanings, values, and beliefs. Different employers have different expectations of their workers. All of these factors help form an organizational culture. Workers use this culture to decide how to act and how to solve problems. What does a positive organizational culture look like? Well, let me first tell you a story. This is Leanne. Leanne feels constantly stressed at work. She feels that her work environment lacks respect, trust, and honesty. Leanne works very hard, but feels that in order to succeed at her job, she has to fit in with the culture, or it may be considered a sign of weakness. She's always in competition with her coworkers. Every day, Leanne comes to work wanting to look for another job, anywhere but here. This was an example of what a negative organizational culture could look like. On the other side of things, workplace cultures that are psychologically safe and healthy have trust, honesty, and respect. People treat each other with civility and respect. Decisions are made in a fair way. People feel like they're part of a team, working toward the same goal. Some signs that you have a positive culture would be that people are satisfied with the work they do. There's great morale and teamwork, and you feel supported. A workplace with a positive organizational culture is somewhere where people want to work and want to stay. People in the community feel it's a good place to work even if they don't work there. So what are some things that you can do in your workplace to help build a positive organizational culture? Employees can try a team building activity. Managers can look at starting a mentorship program between emerging and more experienced leaders. Everyone can help set the tone for positive organizational culture by writing down what your company believes and what they value, and what is the purpose of the work you are doing. Starting a walking group or activity during lunch, getting outside, connecting with nature. Taking your breaks, have some time to connect with your coworkers or someone in your life. Take some time now to write down what you are already doing to contribute to a positive organizational culture and what you can be doing. If it's just one thing, you can make a difference. Organizational culture is one of 13 factors that support psychological health and safety in the workplace. Learn more at mentalhealthcommission.ca/national standard. For more resources for your workplace, check out havethattalk.ca. Developed in collaboration by Ottawa Public Health and the Mental Health Commission of Canada. And adapted with permission from Mindful Employer Canada and support from Bell Let's Talk.
All right, guys. So you've just seen this very quick video about culture. I guess now what I would like to do is, what can you tell me about your culture? Like where you come from, okay? What can you tell me about your culture, guys? What can you tell me? How is, anyone from India here? Anyone from India?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what can you tell me about your culture, Asha? What is special about your culture?
In my country, it's a power distance culture.
Power distance. Okay, so there's a manager and there's people who basically gonna report to that manager. Okay, that's fine. What else? What are your values? What are your norms? What do you do? What do you like? How do you do things in your country? What else could you tell me? Do you have any specific dances?
No.
No, any specific food you eat?
No idea, sir.
Okay, anybody else could tell me about their culture? I can tell you, for example, about me. Okay, I originally come from Lebanon. If I talk about the culture, we are, for example, very family oriented. We are very religiously oriented. We are In terms of food, we have our own, specific general type of food we eat, non-Lebanese cuisine. We have a very specific dance called the dabke, the way we dance. And so this is just a few things about my culture, where I come from. Anybody else could share with me their culture, where they come from? Anyone could represent Nepal? Anyone?
I can share from
Tell me.
from my culture.
Tell
Okay.
me, Macon. You're
I
from
come,
Nepal?
no, I'm from Brazil.
Brazil, okay.
Yep.
Go on.
So I come from a country that is very, like, even though we have many difficulties, we are very happy. We enjoy living in a family environment.
Outgoing. So you guys are very outgoing. You guys are family
Outgoing,
oriented.
We are very active.
Rio de Janeiro. Let's go. Okay, what else?
Let's all go there. Yeah. Yeah, we have different religions.
Yeah.
Different types of food, because it's a big country, so we have different cultures within the country as well.
Yep.
What else? Yeah, we have lots of dancings. Different. We have different dancings.
We have a lot of pineapple dessert.
Pineapple dessert. Yeah, tropical food. Yeah, tropical fruits.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you notice here, we talked about Lebanon, we spoke about India, we spoke about Brazil, and you notice there are, for example, some similarities. So if we talked about India and we spoke about Brazil and we spoke about Lebanon, we said all of them are family oriented. Yeah. In Lebanon, probably is also power distance. So there's a manager and there's people reporting. In Australia, there's not much power distance. The manager and the employee are usually on the same level in Australia. So it's totally different. So every place is different. And what I want you to bear in mind is not simply every place is different. Every place is different. Every organization is different. And it's about how do we actually understand the culture that is available in our organization and try to work to deliver the right projects in the right way. Now, what I want you to know is a lot of times you'll be working with an organization and sometimes the culture might not be the best culture. But that doesn't mean that everybody is going to leave the company. What it means a lot of time is when the actual company goes and do an assessment and gather information which shows that their culture is actually not considered the most appropriate culture, what happened then is they have the opportunity to be able to go and listen to people's feedback. They go and create a lot of surveys. So listen to what the employees are saying. And whenever they recognize that employees are actually not happy with that environment and the way the culture is actually running, a lot of companies start initiating a lot of changes to be able to go and create a more positive culture for their employees so that people would stay in the organization. You're going to say, so what? A person could go and we really don't care if they actually go and leave the business. If they go, we get someone else. In principle, that is correct. But in reality, that's not how things work. And the reason why that's not how things work is because if people go and actually leave, you have lost with them a lot of knowledge that has taken years to go and actually accumulate inside your business. So it is just not as simple as saying, let me go and actually get someone else to go and come and do the job, because you will lose expertise and you really do not want to lose expertise that is available in your business. So we talk more about, we just continue. So now what is a culture? Well, let me continue more on that. It is a shared norms, beliefs, values, and assumptions. Norms, what do we normally do? Do we, let's say, how do we dress up? That's a norm. What do we believe in? What are the values? I value family. I value friendship. I value mateship. I value, I don't know, my neighbor. What are the assumptions? We assume that, for example, in America, they assume that you can be anything you can be in the world and nobody could stop you from getting whatever you would like to do. It's all of these norms, beliefs, values, and assumptions which really bind people together. They create a shared meaning. So people start in an organization. If they all, for example, believe in delivering great, excellent customer service, then basically the norm, the way that they actually operate, the way that they behave in the organization will start basically reflecting that specific perspective. They start reflecting how that cares. So the way that people act in that organization will start reflecting what they really believe in. So really culture is the personality of the organization that sets it apart from other organizations. What makes them different from any other organization we go and work for? It provides a sense of identity. This is my identity. I am a Google employee. We believe in being the #1 innovative company in the world. So there's a sense of identity. It helps legitimize the management system of the organization. If everybody share those values, then that management structure and management system gets supported because everybody in the business believes in the shared norms and shared values and beliefs. Because everybody shares those values, everybody shares those norms, what's going to happen is it clarifies and reinforces the standard of behavior that is actually accepted. So it is about looking at all of that information to get the job done. The primary characteristics that determine the culture are many. I'm going to talk about some. One of them is member identity. The degree to which employees identify themselves with the organization rather than with their job. If you really think I'm a Google employee, not I'm an IT department employee, you are very much identifying with the organization. How much emphasis is there on the team versus how much emphasis is there on individuals? Now, if there's a lot of emphasis on the team, then that's really something that is very much supportive of working in a team environment. So the degree to which work activities are organized around groups rather than around individuals. Management focus, the degree to which management decisions take into account the employee. If I'm going to make a decision that is going to be negatively impacting on my employee, then I might not make that decision. So the degree to which the management decision take into account the effect of outcomes on employees. The unit coordination, the degree to which organization units are encouraged to operate in a coordinated or an interdependent manner. In other words, we're not really your marketing, I'm sales, he's HR, he's IT. We all really coordinated as one big company who is integrated together. This is really much more valuable when people and companies are going to work in a projectized environment. Control, the degree to which rules, policies, and direct supervision are used to oversee and control employees' behavior. If you don't trust your people, if you want to put policies and rules and you want to supervise them that they're doing the right thing, you will not get the right outcome. So you need to think about that, the degree of which the rules, policies, and direct supervision are used to oversee and control the employee behavior. If you trust people, if you know they will do the right thing without you really going and having to go and observe them, this is really the sort of culture that is really, really supportive for delivering projects. How much do we tolerate risks? If everybody wants things to be 100% no risk, well, go and put your money in the bank and get 1% interest on it. That's really, if you don't like the risk. But the risk is usually something that exists when we're delivering project. The degree to which employees are encouraged to be aggressive, innovative, risk-seeking. Not when you go and make a mistake, we say, you know what, you made a mistake, I'm going to kill you now. No, we encourage you to go and learn and make mistakes. We expect that to actually go and happen. The reward criteria. The degree to which rewards such as promotion are allocated based on your performance. Not because you're superior, not because you're older, not because you basically the manager like you, not because you're the owner of the boss, or sorry, you're the child of the boss. No, it's based on your performance. This is really the sort of structure that is really supportive of a project work. Reward criteria is based on your performance. How much conflict tolerance is there in the organization? Can we have conflicts? Can we discuss conflicts? Because if we discuss conflicts, well, that's good for our project. If we are not allowed to discuss any conflicts and we are required to go and find all of this information, then guess what? You should not be running projects in your organization. The means versus the ends orientation. In other words, the degree to which we want results, but we want to know how are we achieving those results. The degree to which management focuses on outcomes rather than on techniques and processes used to achieve those results. So if you just want to get the result at any expense, well, that's not very ethical, and that's really not very suited for project environments. If we talk about open system focus, the degree to which the organization monitors and responds to the changes in the external environment. There's always going to be changes all around you. Now, the projects are a lot of times the result of all of these changes that happen around you. If there's an open system focus, if there's a lot of encouragement to listen to what is happening out there and to benefit from what is happening out there, then ladies and gentlemen, what's going to happen from there is this is what we call an open system focus. This is what drives us to go and have more and more projects from outside the business, because we learn from the ideas that are out there. And because of that, it is very, very supportive for us running projects in our organization. Now, I spoke about 10 criteria, 1 to 10, and how do we know which of these criteria would be more suited for our project environment? Well, really, if you are associating too much with the organization, if you are associating with a group, if you are more people focused and task oriented, if you are interdependent with your other people in the organization, if the organization doesn't want to control you so much with policies, procedures, rules, and so on, if you're allowed to take risks, if they reward your performance, if they allow you to have conflict, if they want you to achieve the result, but not in an ethical manner, and if there is a lot of open focus to see what is happening all around you, then this is really the sort of cultural dimensions that are really, really supportive for us to go and actually have a project management delivery within organizations. My friends, I'll ask you again, do you have any questions? Okay, I can see Rishav, thumbs up. Aisha, thumbs up. Anybody have any question? Okay, now, no problem. Now, I have someone here logged in under the name of GoGet. My friend, okay, Rakesh, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'm going to keep on being able to see you when I do the actual login. So make sure, guys, you are using your name so that when I go and put the attendance, you are going to be getting the right attendance. So please make sure your name is actually present. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, I usually go and give you the break now around mid-time through the lecture. So I'm going to give you a 10 minutes break, and then we'll start the class again in 10 minutes. Welcome back, guys. I hope you had a good break. So we're going to continue with talking about the culture. So what are the actual characteristics that will help us to really understand and identify the culture that is available in a particular organization? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have the characteristics really of the organization, the physical characteristics, what we look like. Like, for example, you go and if you go and look at the actual offices, and they are very funky and very new and very kind of innovative and stuff, that basically tells you what sort of culture that organization has. You can read about the organization to be able to understand what sort of culture they have and what do they value. You can see how people deal with each other. How do they talk to each other? Do they respect each other? Are they nice? Are they, respectful? That basically tells you what sort of organization you have with you. What stories do you know about that organization? What folklore? What do they celebrate all the time that is surrounding all of these organizations? All of these things are things we really go and bear in mind when it comes to the characteristics, to really identify and understand what are the organizational characteristics. Now, there are challenges to actually navigating organizational culture. You know, when you are a project manager, you have to deal with your own culture, which is the culture in your team. You have to have potentially subcultures, which are different cultures within your own organization. You have to interact with your clients and your customers who might even have a totally different culture. You have to interact with other organizations who are connected to your project, which again might mean dealing with people from different cultures. A lot of times we're talking about people who might not even be in the same country, not even make it more difficult and more challenging from a project management perspective to deal with various people with so many various cultures and so many various needs and requirements. Now, we're going to go and start talking about defining the project. And this is really, this chapter is very important because this really sets a foundation to enable you guys to go and start creating good detailed project plans that help us to go and achieve the delivery of the right outcomes. So I'm going to talk about how do we define a project. Now, the first thing in terms of defining the project is you need to define what is the actual project scope. What are we really trying to go and deliver? Then you need to go and establish the project priorities. Then from there, we need to create what we call the work breakdown structure. Then we need to integrate the work breakdown structure with the organization, specifically the organizational work breakdown structure. Then we're going to have to go and create the coding, the work breakdown structure for the information system. So I'm going to talk about each one of these steps individually, and we are going to be applying some of these steps today. Especially we're going to be applying step 1 and step 3 as part of the actual tutorial. So please make sure you are going to be available to work very hard on these tasks, because these are really the foundations that are required to enable you to go and do very well when we talk about your assignments. The first thing is we need to know the scope. What are we actually trying to deliver? A project scope is a definition of the end result or mission of the project, a product or service for the client or the customer in specific, tangible, and measurable terms. So we need to deliver something that is specific. We cannot say we want to go and deliver a software. We have to know specifically what are all of these various functionalities and requirements stipulated in that specific software that we are trying to go and deliver. So it's a definition of the result in a very specific, tangible, and measurable terms. When we talk about the purpose of the scope statement, it's to clearly define the deliverables for the end user, clearly define what are we trying to go and deliver. We need to focus the project on successful completions of its goals. That's really the important focus. It is important to be used by the project owner and participants as a planning tool and for measuring project success. If we know exactly what they want, we'll be able to go and measure to ensure we are really delivering what they are expecting us to go and deliver. Now, when you want to go and create a project scopes checklist, if you want, you need to go and focus on what is the objective, what's the deliverable, what's the milestone, what's the technical requirement, what's the limits and exclusions, and what reviews will the customer needs to go and actually give me to ensure he is happy that we've delivered exactly the scope that is required. When I talk about the deliverables could be something specific. For example, one deliverable in your group assignment could be, I have completed working on the Trello system. That could be one main deliverable. Another deliverable could be, we have finalized communicating via, or we have created the actual Slack system to be able to conduct the communication. So what have we actually delivered? So the deliverable of the actual project. A deliverable in the software could be, we have finished writing section 1 of the module, for example. Another deliverable could be section 2 of the module. When you deliver all 10 sections of that module, you have a milestone, which milestone is an important achievement in your project that does not actually consume time. So the milestone could be, we finished all the 10 modules and they're ready to go. A deliverable could be, I finished one module, it's done, it's ready to go. That's one deliverable that is completed. But the milestone is a big, big achievement of something significant in your project, and it's really simply doesn't consume time. Like when you tell me module 1 completed, that's it, that's a milestone, but it does not consume any time. It's 0 days because the actual duration is already incorporated into the deliverable. So module 1 work, that's where there's time. Module 2 work, that's when there's time. But when you finish all 10 modules and say, well, all 10 modules are completed, that's a milestone. A milestone always is something that does not actually consume time. So just bear that in mind. In difference, a deliverable is really something that you had to actually spend, it involves working through time and spending time to be able to go and get the job done. So when you're going to go and work today in the actual tutorial activity that I'm going to give you, you are required to go and use this checklist to be able to create me a project scope statement later today. Now we're going to talk about the project priorities. I'm going to play another quick video for you guys, so please pay attention.
In this video, I'm going to answer the question, what is the iron triangle that project managers so often talk about? The iron triangle has many names, but whichever name you prefer to use, it will offer you valuable insights that will help you to understand project management, and it's therefore an essential concept to get to grips with. The iron triangle won't solve any of your project management problems, but it will make very clear to you the choices that you have. The iron triangle as a concept is key to understanding how to make good decisions as a project manager. The iron triangle is a representation of the competing pressures to produce something that is the best you can possibly produce, as quickly as possible, and for the minimum cost. Some people say time, cost, quality, pick 2. It's not quite as simple as that, but it does capture the essence of the iron triangle. The 3 corners of the iron triangle are, firstly, time or schedule. Secondly, cost or budget or resources, because of course all resources have to be paid for. And the third corner is quality or functionality. I prefer to distinguish between the quality of what you produce and the range of functionality or the scope. Like most British project managers, I learned the iron triangle as time, cost, and quality. Most US-based project managers know the iron triangle as time, cost, and scope, which is how the PMI's project management body of knowledge represents it. The important thing to know about the iron triangle is that once you choose a quality and scope that meets your needs, and you budget for it so that you understand the cost, and you put in a complete estimate of how long it will take to deliver, you've locked together the 3 corners of the iron triangle. And triangles, as we know, are the most rigid shapes in nature. So you've now got your time, your cost, and your quality or functionality in balance. And the iron triangle is sometimes known as the triangle of balance for that very reason. Now, what happens if you want to change one of those corners? Maybe you want to deliver your project sooner, or perhaps you want to save some money and reduce the resources you use, or increase the specification of the quality standards. Well, you can't, because the iron triangle is rigid. You've created a balance in your plan. Consequently, if you want to change one of those corners, you have to change at least one other. If you want to increase the quality, then you're going to have to pay for it, and perhaps even take longer as well. If you want to deliver more quickly, then you'll either need to put in more resources or cut some corners. And of course, if you want to save some money, then you're almost certainly going going to have to reduce the quality or the scope of functionality. Consequently, the three corners constrain one another. So the iron triangle is also sometimes known as the triple constraint. In my courses, I discuss how scope and quality are different, and therefore how the iron triangle really has four corners and gives you as a project manager even greater flexibility. But even with four corners, it is rigid nonetheless.
So really this is building on what we have started talking about last week. It's building on that. We spoke last week about the delivering things within time, within cost, and within specifications. But here you can see that we're talking about a bit more. We're talking about the quality. We're talking about all of these things that really could be potentially adjusted, like if we're going to think about it from the UK perspective. But from a project management body of knowledge, we talk about delivering things within time, within cost, within specifications. And I really would go and add one saying, we are going to need to deliver things that are going to be meeting the customer's requirements, because if it does not meet what the customer wants, then really you're not actually achieving the outcomes that you need to go and achieve. Now you need to decide how you are going to be managing all of these constraints. Is a thinking, am I going to constrain things? Am I going to enhance things? Am I going to accept things? When I say constrain, its parameter is fixed. So if I say constrain the time, means it must be delivered within that specific period of time. You need to go and constrain it. If I go and say, for example, I would like to go and enhance it, which means I would like you to go and optimize the outcome that goes and gets delivered. So we're going to go and try to make we get a better outcome. So if, for example, we say, well, we want it done by, in 10 days, but we say you can enhance it. Well, if you enhance it, it means you could make it done by 8 days, for example. That's an enhancement. Accepting is really, you kind of accept not meeting the criteria. So if you say you would like something to be delivered within a budget of $100,000, but the work needs to be done, so you might actually go and accept that you are going to be finding, if you want an increasing in the budget, you actually accept that change as a result of whatever criteria you have for a particular project. But in bottom lines, what you need to bear in mind is when you're talking about these three criteria, you need to talk about, well, what do we know about those criteria? Are they constraint criteria? Are they criteria we can enhance? Are they criteria that we can accept that we're not going to meet them? What is something that we need to go and bear in mind from a priorities perspective? So you think here we spoke about time, cost, and scope. We spoke here about time, cost, and performance, or if you want quality. But really, you should be able to go and think about all of these criteria together that are combined, going to really tell you whether you've actually managed to deliver the outcomes that you are required to go and really deliver. So when I say constrained performance, means the performance that I told you want and the specification that I need, you cannot change. That's exactly what I'm expecting you are going to go and actually give me. When I say about enhance the time, means, well, if you can do it quicker, why not do it quicker for us? That'll be actually awesome. When I say accept, that means we accept that you might not actually go and be able to meet the cost. Like you might be over budget. We accept that your cost might not be exactly the same, and which means we accept that you might go over budget in that specific particular requirement, and that is going to actually be okay. The third thing is really about creating a work breakdown structure. Now, I would like to ask everybody, could each one of you please, guys, give me the thumbs up? I just want to make sure that you're all listening. Everybody's here. Everybody, I want the thumbs up. Everyone? Sanjay, Sujita, Anish Adhikari, and Salur. Anish Adhikari and Salur. Yeah, Salur is here. Anish Adhikari. Okay, let me send a message to Anish. Okay, let me see if is Anish. Are you back, Anish?
Yes, sir.
Okay, welcome. Please stay with me, my friend. Okay. So let's talk about the work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure is a hierarchical outline. It's really like a map. It's a hierarchy that identifies the project, the products, and the work elements involved in the project. For example, if I was to ask you a very simple question now, guys, what do you need to do to be able to pass ICT 712? What do you need to do? What are the main things you need to do? What can you tell me?
First thing, attend the class,
Okay.
do the assessment,
So,
and
so let's say we spoke about assessments. You said complete assessments. Okay. Let's talk about that aspect by itself. Complete assessments. That's a high level. Can you tell me what is a sub level to that complete assessments high level?
You work during tutorial?
Before. Let's speak only about assessments. You spoke about assessments. Okay. So you could tell me tutorial assessments. Okay. What else?
Class test.
Class assessments. So class quiz. Yeah. What else? What else?
Assignment.
Midterm.
Yeah, midterm. Assignment.
Okay. Final.
Final exam.
And group. Correct? Okay. So if we talk about complete assessment, that's a high level. To be able to really complete the assessments and finish that task, if you want to create a work breakdown structure, you need to create a work breakdown structure for each of these items. So tutorial assessments, quiz assessments, midterm assessment, group assessment, and final assessment. Now, let's talk about one of them only. Midterm assessment. What do you need to do well in the midterm assessment? Can you tell me tasks? Give me task 1, task 2. Tell me what they are. What do we need to do?
attend class.
Okay, 1, attend class. Perfect. What else?
Understand whatever we are studying.
What else? Okay, we finish. We attend the classes. What do we do after?
Preparation.
We're talking about studying. Review. You attended the class. What do you do after attending the class?
Preparation.
Preparation. So you talk, well, before preparation,
Tutorials.
you get, well, tutorials is something different. But if we're talking about the midterm, you're going to have to review the materials that we covered. Correct? Because after the class, you're going to review it. And after you review it, you might go and write some summary notes. Okay? So we are today week 2. If we talk about preparing for the midterm, week 1, you might attend class, review materials, summarize the work. Week 2, you'll do the same thing. Week 3, you'll do the same thing. Week 4, okay, I think there's a quiz actually in week 4, but what you do then, if you want to go and prepare, you make a final preparation for that week to be able to go and sit the quiz in that particular week. So you will have to do all of these activities. You'll have to go and repeat them. So attend the class, that's 2 hours. You need to put a time and you need to put a resource. You put that person. Review the materials, that's you. You have to do it. You're going to put a time, you're going to put the person doing it. Summarizing it, again, you're going to put the time, you're going to put the person doing it. You do that every single week. And if you do it correctly, if you do it, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever it is, you'll be able to have the work breakdown structure completed for that sub-component, which is let's do well in the midterm exam. Now we talk about another one. We're going to do well in the actual group assignment. Can you tell me what do we need to do well in a group assignment? What's the first thing we need to do?
Create group.
Yeah, you need to create a group. Correct. What else do we need to do?
Divide task.
Before divide the task, what do you need to do?
Understand requirements.
You need to read and understand the requirements. Absolutely. Then what do you do?
We assign the tasks.
You assign the tasks. Then what do you do?
Then we come up with planning to achieve the task.
Well, they send you the task. You probably have done planning before, but they send you the task, you review it. Then you might send it back for updates and improvements. So you see how there's a time? There's every work package, it's going to have people actually doing a job. And that's really what you need to think about as a work breakdown structure. When I give you the group assignment, it is very, very important that you create a very detailed work breakdown structure. It starts from high level and goes all the way to the detail. And the reason why it's very important you do that is because if you do not do that, you can't really estimate how much time is needed. You can't assign people to the resources. You'll have basically the two main things you need will be wrong. Your budget will be wrong. Your scheduling will be wrong. So my question and my recommendation for you is very simple. You go and you understand what is actually needed in terms of the scope for your assignment or your project or whatever it is. You go and create a detailed work breakdown structure. You go and ensure from that work breakdown structure that is detailed, you'll assign people to all of these work packages. And because you're assigning people to these work packages, you can basically say how much each person is going to get paid. And because of that, you'll be able to really go and get the right outcomes. So that's something to bear in mind. Any questions about delivering a work breakdown structure, my friends? Is that clear? Do you understand what I've been trying to explain to you? Okay, I can see thumbs up. Can see 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7, yep, 8. Kevin, Sujita, Binay. All right, so I can see the rest of you. You understand, that's great. So let me just move on. So when I talk about the work breakdown structure, how does it actually help the project manager? Well, if it helps the project manager to evaluate, am I delivering things on time? Am I delivering things on cost? Am I delivering the specifications that are required? We ask these questions, we get the right outcomes. So when we talk about cost, we can know the cost correctly because we are actually creating a very detailed plan. And because we went and we created a very detailed plan, we were able to go and actually, monitor how much a budget needed to be for a specific work package and how much a budget really is. So for example, when I actually go and talk about evaluation of the, let's say, cost. Let's say I tell you, I want you to go and, go and write for me the code for the whole day. If you go and you finish the work of coding for the whole day, I already know you've worked on that task for the whole day. Because I know you've worked on that task for the whole day, because I know you actually get paid, let's say $800 a day, I know that that job have actually cost me $800 for a day. If I said the job will take 1 day and you finish the job in 1 day, I know that I finished within the time. So I can monitor my time. I can monitor my costs. I can monitor whether I delivered the technical expectations and requirements. That's really what we go and try to do. We provide management with information appropriate for each organizational level. Senior manager needs to see how things are going. Lower people who actually work on the project, they just need to know what job they need to do. Project manager needs to go and report what everybody else needs to do and how we're progressing. So everybody needs a different information. It helps in the development of an organizational work breakdown structure. Well, what is the organizational breakdown structure? Well, you need to know who is going to really be doing what. Which part of the organization will do what job? If there's a work package, who's doing it? And that's really part of the assigning of all of these tasks to specific people. The work breakdown structure will help me to go and manage, plan, manage the schedule, and manage the budget. And that basically enables us to go and reach the right outcomes. We need to define, the work breakdown structure help us define all of these communication channels and assist in coordinating the various element activities. So the communication channel is for really ensuring the data is available to the various levels of management to ensure that they work to get the right job. So you look here. This is, for example, we need to make a personal computer prototype. There's all of these levels 1, level 2, level 3. We have all of these, you know, level 2, you know, disk storage units. And we talk about, okay, what do we need for a disk storage unit? Well, we need a floppy, optical, and hard drive. Okay, we have a hard drive. What do we need for a hard drive? We need a chassis frame. Okay, how do we get a chassis frame? You need a work package. Work package 1, work package 2, work package 3. So you have all of this information already available for you to be able to get the job done. You know, we need a read and write head. Again, there are work packages. We need a circuit board. Again, we need work packages. So really know all of these work packages, and the work packages are the ones where we are going to be assigning people, and the people are the one who are going to be able to really do the job that we want them to go and do at any point of time. Now, when I talk about a work package is the lowest level point of the work breakdown structure. That's really the lowest, and that's the one that consumes times, and that's the one we assign people to really go and do. It is output oriented. So it is about ensuring, what do I need to do? How long I have to do it? How much in terms of resources I need? How much in terms of the budget I need? Who is going to actually do it? And what are the monitoring points? How am I going to ensure there is a milestone available for us to ensure we are delivering the right outcome? So when we talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important, you know, what we need to do, how long, cost, and so on, to be able to ensure we're doing the right job. If we don't have that specific information, if we don't know what we need to do, how do you know you've done it? If you don't know how long they want you to do it for, how do you know you are going to be meeting the scheduled deadline? If you don't know the cost, how are you going to go and meet the budget? If you don't know how much resources that are going to be needed, how are we going to plan in ensuring people are available to do the job? If you don't have someone responsible, you know, how are you going to go and ensure things will be monitored? Like, there's all of these things that you need to bear in mind, not simply creating the plan. Like, the work breakdown structure is a high level, and we go all the way to the details to ensure things gets done the way they're required. So we spoke about the organizational breakdown structure. It depicts how the firm is actually organized to really get the work done. It provides a framework to summarize the organization of the work unit performance, identify organizational units responsible for various work packages, and ensuring there's a tying of the organizational units to the actual cost. Now, there's this person works for this department, this person who works for that department is working on this job, so that job will need to be built for that specific work center in the organization to ensure we are going to make a proper reporting about the costing of the work that we're doing in our business. We spoke about the work breakdown structure coding. You know, it talks about the defining of the various levels and elements of the work breakdown structure. There's level 1, level 2, level 3, and so on. We talk about all of these organizational elements. We talk about the work packages. And when I talk about the work packages, these are the work packages that I'm going to allocate a start time and end time. And these are the work packages that I'm going to be allocating a budget to ensure we are delivering things within the budget that is expected. So there's from those work packages that I assign people to, that I assign start time and end times, I actually go and get the budget and cost information. And when I start working on implementing that project, we basically get to the stage of ensuring, are we actually delivering the outcomes we need to do and deliver within the requirements that we are expected to go and deliver. Because you have the structure, because you have the work package, because you have the start time and end time, because you have your costings, because you know who's doing what, you'll be able to go and create a lot of reporting. So the reports will be able to be consolidated at any level in the organizational structure. That's really what we need to go and bear in mind. My friend, this is really a small example of a work breakdown structure. You know, it's a computer project which requires a disk storage unit. And when I talk about disk storage unit, it requires, you know, a external USB drive, an optical, as well as a hard section. If we're talking about the hard drive, it requires a motor, a read and write head, and anything else. If we talk about the motor, it requires sourcing the work package. If we talk about read and write, there's cost accounts, but there are work packages. So the cost account is, this is where we are going to be charging the money for the work that has been done. And the work package is the actual work. You know, for this work package, I'll assign a person. I'll assign a start time and end time. And because I know the start time, because I know the end time, because I know who's supposed to be doing the job, I am actually able to understand from a budgeting perspective how much this is going to actually cost me for me to go and get the job done. Now, we also need to communicate with the right people. You know, we need to know what information needs to be collected and when do we need to collect that information. We need to ask ourselves this question: who needs that information? Because then you need to send that information. You need to know, how am I going to send that information? Okay. You know, what methods will be used to gather that information? How am I going to store that information? Email, online, database, and so on. What are the limits, if any, on who has access to certain kind of information? Maybe some information will only go to management. Maybe other information will go to anybody. What sort of limits are going to be inserted? When will the information be communicated? Well, some information will come every week. Some information will come every day. Some information will come every month. It really depends on who you are actually sending that information to. Someone who's working every day on your project and every day needs to know what job they need to go and be working on at any point of time. Someone like that, you need to ensure you're going to communicate with them every single day. If you don't, how are they going to know what they need to do? I work in many project teams where people working on IT projects get communication every day to ensure they know what they need to do at any point of time. We need to know, how will the information be communicated? Email, database, face-to-face, and so on. Not simply where it's going to be stored, also how it's going to actually get communicated. Now, to be able to decide on what sort of communication plan you're going to be having, you need to really analyze, who are my stakeholders? Is it the CEO? Is it external? Is it internal? Is it people in my team? Who really are they? And once you know who they are, you need to ask yourself, what information do they need? Do they need project status reports? Do they need deliverable issues? Do they need to know about any changes in scope? Do they need to know about the status meetings updates? What information do they really need to actually receive? Then you ask yourself, okay, I know what information they need. I know who are my stakeholders. You're going to ask yourself now, where am I going to be able to get that information for them? And how am I going to go and send that information to them? And who is responsible for sending that communication? And when should they be expected to send that communication? This is really related to, where is that information? How I'm going to deliver it? Who is responsible to doing so? And when are they required to go and send all of that information? This is a very example from the textbook about a project communication plan. What information we need, who will need it, when do they need it, how they're going to need it, and who is going to provide it. Milestone reports, status reports, team status reports, issues reports, escalation reports, outsourcing performance, accepted change requests, oversight gate decisions. All of these are what information they need. And you can see they might go to various people: senior management and project manager, staff and customer, project office. So the people who are going to receive it are different. When they're going to receive it is different. Bi-monthly, weekly, when needed, anytime. They keep on changing. How are you going to send it? Email, hard copy, meetings. Again, this is actually going to change. Who is the provider? You want to talk about the provider: project scope, project office, project manager, team recorder. This is a person who is going to be considered the person in charge of ensuring that those materials are going to be arriving to the right person at the right time. My friends, this really brings us towards the end of today's lecture. I want to ask you, do you have any questions at all for me? Kevin is very quick. Tell me, all good, sweet. All right, Sanjay follow, and I have Shumail also followed, and everybody else. So are we all good? No questions, yeah?
Sir?
Yes, my friend.
So why do we need to keep like communication every day? We can do it in like certain time frame also.
Yes, well, it depending who you are sending that communication for. For example, if you are working with someone in your team and he is part of your project team member, and that person really, they need to know at any point of time, what do they need to go and do? So if you can't just say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to tell you what to do now. I'm going to leave you and I'll tell you next week, because that means the guy might actually stay for a whole week, not knowing exactly what he needs to do. But someone, on the other hand, who is just a manager and who is interested to go and get, let's say, a weekly report, then that person doesn't need to receive anything from you throughout the week, but he needs to ensure he is going to be getting his report at the end of the week, because if he doesn't get his report, then he doesn't know that the work actually has been done. Does that make sense, Harishav?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Anyone else, my friends? All right, guys. Now, please review the lecture slides, tutorial materials, and the notes you've taken. Read chapters 3 and 4, and please start preparing for your weekly quiz and your midterm exam. Now, the weekly quiz is coming up very, very soon. The midterm exam is coming up very soon. And I can assure you one very, very simple thing. If you are not going to be attending my lectures, and I insist my lectures, you will have a very big difficulty into doing things in the tutorials, because in the tutorials, we do not repeat the lecture. We simply start applying exercises. You have the job to do the exercises. It's not me. I won't solve them from the beginning. So your job would be to come to the lecture, take my notes, and if there's something and only something you don't understand, then I explain it to you in the tutorial. But I am not going to be the one who's solving the tutorials. I am teaching in the lecture, and you are expected to apply what I taught you in the tutorial. So if you do not come to my lectures and tutorials, you will make it very difficult for you to do well in the midterm exam. That's something I know from experience. Please do attend. I know that people who do not attend my classes, especially the lecture and tutorial, and do not do the exercises that I give them in the tutorial, will find themselves experiencing a big, big difficulty when they're going to go and start applying this learning inside of their work. So please make sure you come and you learn and you apply all of this work appropriately. No worries, Shumail. Thank you very much for letting me know. That's not going to be an issue, mate, but thank you for leaving me a note. Thank you. Now, guys, thank you very kindly for your effort. This basically brings the end to our lecture. I'll see you very, very shortly in our tutorial.